Welcome to Lighten Up, the Art of Living Clutter-Free, a podcast for people who are ready to clear the physical, the mental, and the emotional clutter that's been weighing them down. I'm Melanie Cohen, your host, coach, and guide. Each week, we talk about the clutter you can see and the clutter you can't. The stuff in your home, the noise in your head, the expectations, habits, and unmade decisions that quietly drain your energy. This isn't about perfection or minimalism. It's about creating space for what actually matters in this season of your life. Let's lighten up together, starting now. Welcome to episode 52. This is going to be a year in review because it has been 1 year, 52 episodes, and a conversation that kept unfolding. So I just want to welcome you if you have never been here before, and welcome back to those of you who have been trusted listeners this past year. Today marks something that honestly feels surreal, a full year of weekly podcast drops. 52 episodes, some just me solo, some conversations with other incredible people. And it's all been rooted in one question that keeps coming back week after week. What are we holding on to and why? So instead of teaching or interviewing today, I just want to pause and look back, not at downloads or numbers, but at the conversations that shaped this year for me, the episodes that quietly built on each other and helped define what this show has become. So I want to talk about how the podcast took shape. In the very beginning, episodes 1 through 3, Lighten Up the Art of Living Clutter-Free, Premiere, Transform Your Life with a Mindset-First Approach, and Finding Balance, Redefining Clutter-Free Living with Intentionality. Those set the foundation. From the start, this podcast was never just about physical clutter. It was about mindset, identity, and how change actually happens. Weight and health were a part of the conversation early on, like episode number 4, the relationship between weight and clutter. But as the year unfolded, something shifted. The focus widened, the questions deepened, and the podcast became much more about mental and emotional and physical clutter than anything else. There are some episodes that marked the shift. Several solo episodes became real turning points. Episode 26, I called it Women Stop Apologizing. We talked about how apology language becomes emotional clutter, especially for women who have been taught to soften themselves and take up less space. Episode 39, Made Decisions, the Hidden Weight of Clutter. We explored how indecision itself becomes something we carry quietly, constantly, and often without realizing how heavy it's become. Episode 42, Shoulding All Over Yourself. We named how shoulds sneak into our homes, our calendars, our sense of self, and how much lighter things can feel when we start questioning them. 40, The Weight of Thoughts. We talked about how mental clutter shows up as overthinking, rumination, and exhaustion. If you haven't listened to episode 26, 39, 40, or 42, or if you listened while multitasking, because the truth is, that is typically how I listen to my podcasts, I really encourage you to go back. Those episodes are foundational in my world. There were also some really amazing conversations. Some of the most powerful moments this year came through guest conversations. In episode 16, Conquer the Mental Clutter of Trauma, I spoke with Jen Ginty about how trauma shows up as mental clutter, looping thoughts, hypervigilance, emotional overwhelm, and how what looks like clutter is often a survival response. That episode is a really powerful reminder that this work requires compassion. In episode 27, Letting Go Takes Guts, I spoke with my mentor and friend, cheerleader, coach extraordinaire, Aranza Savas, and we talked about fear, courage capital, and what it actually takes to loosen your grip on what feels familiar. In episode 14, 30 years, countless books, my husband, Bill Cohen, joined me for a deeply personal conversation about love, marriage, and choosing what matters over time. He's the only guy that I've allowed on the podcast. And if you liked that episode on our discussion of books, there will be another one coming where we're going to talk about the clutter that shows up when you become an empty nester. Not just the physical stuff, but the emotional and identity clutter too. In episode 19, The Emotional Landscape of Infertility and Motherhood, Leah DeFeo shared an honest, nuanced conversation about grief and longing and identity, one that stayed with a lot of listeners. And I've gotten a lot of feedback on how wonderful it was. In episode 21, The Body Remembers, Kristen Cordero helped us understand how trauma and limiting beliefs live in the body, not just living in the mind. In episode 29, Transforming Memories into Art, Maho McCorkingdale showed us that memory doesn't have to become clutter. It can evolve. In episode 38, From Finance to Fulfillment, Diana Feinstein talked about midlife transitions and redefining success on your own terms. Episode 30, Retirement Clutter. I had Janelle Biggs here, and she helped us explore how identity and purpose shift during major life changes, not just finances. So if any of those topics resonate, I really encourage you to go back and listen to episodes 14, 16, 19, 21, 27, 29, 30, and 38. I mean, you can listen to all of the episodes. Those conversations still hold a lot. Where the podcast landed is something I want to talk about, because as the year wrapped up, the podcast leaned intentionally into emotional weight. Episodes 48 through 51 focused on the holidays, grief, emotional hangovers. They weren't about fixing anything. They were about naming what is real and making space for it. Taken together, these 51 episodes tell a story. It is not a story of perfection. It is not a story of constant progress. It is a story of awareness, permission, and learning to set things down. This is a real moment of pride for me. Before I close, I want to say something out loud. I am really genuinely proud of what I've created this year. I want you to be thinking of all of the things that you're proud of and say it out loud. We don't do that enough. I am proud not just of the conversations, but all of it. I did all of it. The scheduling, the interviewing, the editing, the re-recording, the show notes, the reels, the marketing, the weekly commitment to show up, even when it would have been easier not to. Podcasting is a lot more work than it looks like from the outside, or at least that's how it felt for me. I did all of it. And here's the part that surprised me the most. It was hard, and I had no idea how much fun I would actually have. I laughed, I learned, I got uncomfortable, and I grew. Back when I was in 7th grade, I think I've told the story before, my father and my math teacher decided I didn't have a future in math, but I did have a future either as a talk show host or stand-up comedian, and I think my podcasts gives me the opportunity for both. Somewhere along the way, this stopped being a project and became something I genuinely love. So today, I'm letting myself celebrate that, not because it was perfect, but because it was done. Remember, messy action is better than no action at all. I showed up consistently and honestly and with care. And if you're listening and there's something you've been quietly showing up for, something no one else fully sees, I hope you'll take a moment to honor that too. So what's next? As we move into year 2, this work continues. If these conversations resonated with you, I want to invite you to join me on January 1st for my Lighten Up Start 2026 Clutter-Free Workshop. It's a free workshop, not just about the new year. And in fact, not one of those incredibly stupid new year, new you kind of things. Realistic, compassionate ways to clear physical and mental clutter. And shortly after that, my new Lighten Up program opens. Lighten Up, the clutter-free mindset method. It's a deeper space to work through these questions together. You'll find links to both in the show notes. And I just want to say a huge thank you, whether you've listened to one episode or all 52. This podcast exists because these conversations matter and because none of us are meant to carry all of this alone. Next week, we begin year 2. Today, I just want to take a pause and notice it all. Thank you for listening to Lighten Up the Art of Living Clutter-Free. If this episode resonated, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use just a little bit of lightness. If you're ready for deeper support, you can work with me one-on-one or join my Lighten Up Clutter-Free Mindset Group program. You can find all the details at my website, thoughtfullycoaching.com. Until next time, progress over perfection. Messy action is better than no action at all. So let's lighten up.